Welcome to the Limerick's Life podcast with your hosts, Sharon Slater
and Peter.
Hello all and welcome to episode 9 of the Limerick's Life podcast, the final episode of season 1 of the show.
Oh, the season done already. Suppose we should introduce ourselves for the last time?
That we will. My name is Sharon and I know about history.
My name is Peter and I don't know about history.
Now Peter, how much do you know about the Limerick milling industry?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, today we're going to talk about John Norris Russell and some flour.
Cooking flour or like pretty flowers?
Cooking flour.
Nice. Are we going to make a cake at the end?
Maybe.
Nice.
So, our John Norris Russell, he was considered one of the greatest businessmen and industrialists in the history of Limerick. And unlike many of his contemporaries in business in Limerick at the time, John Norris was a native of the city. So he wasn't cursed by St. Munchin. His family were prominent merchants here.
Were they general merchants or did they specialise in something?
He specialised in milling, but his enterprises touched a lot more than that. He was born John Thomas Norris Russell, but he ended up dropping the Thomas. In February 1774, he was the second of 5 sons of Francis William Russell and Elizabeth Monsell Norris. So that's where he gets the Norris name. He was a kid of the Georgian era. So Georgian Limerick was a burst of energy and it saw the development of the grid structure in Newtown Perry. So all those red brick buildings.
Yeah, just when the city was really starting to take off.
Well, when part of it was. John Norris followed in his father's footsteps into business and succeeded him on his death in 1800. He quickly set about building his own business empire and calling it John N. Russell and Sons. Now, this business ended up trading for over 100 years.
Wow.
In 1810, he built the huge Newtown Perry Mills on Russell Quay near the Shannon Bridge. Well, the Shannon Bridge wasn't there at the time, but where the Shannon Bridge is now.
Oh, yeah.
The quay has since been subsumed into Steamboat Quay and Bishop's Quay, but sure, you might as well name a quay after yourself.
Yeah, why not?
He later acquired a number of other mills and built others in the city. He eventually owned the Lock Mill, Plassey Mill, Singland Mill, Corbley Mill, Askeaton Mill.
That's a lot of mills.
It really was. In 1827, he introduced steam instead of water to power the rollers in some of his mills, and this astonished many of his contemporaries.
So he was on the cutting edge of the technology at the time, so.
Absolutely. Eventually, he became the largest miller in the south of Ireland.
It's very impressive.
Yeah, but milling was only a part of his business group. It was a whole business group at this stage. It was stated that the trade through the port of Limerick in the mid-19th century was largely served by Russell's coastal ships. So he had his own shipyard where many of these were built.
Where was this shipyard?
Again, it was on or near Russell's Quay because the quays in the city were named after the people who owned them. So we had Harvey's Quay, which was named after the Harvey's family, Arthur's Quay, named after the Arthur family. And people who wanted to moor their ships on these quays would have to pay these family money. So, do you want to get yourself a quay?
Hell yeah. Who wouldn't?
In 1850, he helped establish a steamship company and later took that over. He soon constructed one of the largest industrial buildings ever seen in Limerick, the Lansdowne Flax Spinning and Linen Weaving Factory on the North Circular Road, later known as Cleves or the Golden Vale premises.
Oh, yeah.
The 19th century historian Maurice Lenihan described it as the largest merchants and manufacturers in southwest of Ireland. Russell's conglomerate employed some 2,000 people at its height.
That must have been a big chunk of Limerick's population, so.
It really was. Most people know it as the Cleves Condensed Milk Factory site, and there are plans at the moment to redevelop that area. And I hope they end up including the Russell name in there somewhere, as it was originally his building.
Yeah, right too.
John Norris Russell wasn't just working in business, he took an active part in public life too. Politically, he was a liberal and a supporter of reform. He briefly sat on the Limerick Council from 1841 to 1842 and served as sheriff of the city in 1843. He was one of the founders of the Limerick Savings Bank.
Well, he needed somewhere to store his money.
True. A member of the Church of Ireland, he laid the foundation stone for the new St. John's Church in John Square. And he was married to a Cork woman, Maria Thompson, and they had 7 sons and 2 daughters.
9 kids. That's a lot.
Yeah, so he had all these businesses going on, the milling, the shipping, and he still managed to find time to impregnate his wife.
He just wants to do everything, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, I've given you the highlights, though, from his contemporaries in merchant circles.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody liked the Russell family and their mills.
Oh, really?
Let's get into the good stuff. By the summer of 1830, poverty and hunger in Limerick City had reached a breaking point. You know, we all think of the Great Famine of the 1840s, but that wasn't the first or the last famine in Ireland.
Oh?
Yeah. Years of crop failure and high unemployment and the soaring food prices had left thousands in the older parts of the city, the English town and the Irish town, on the brink of starvation.
Wow.
Oatmeal was a vital substitute when the potatoes failed, and suddenly the price of those jumped when the city merchants, including the Russell family, raised the cost from £16 a tonne to £20 a tonne.
That's a lot for the time. Wow.
For the poor, this meant survival was not really possible anymore. So one day, on 25th of June, 1830, desperation erupted into mass action. Crowds poured out from the lanes of the old towns and seized oatmeal carts at Thomond Bridge.
Huh.
They raided boats and warehouses along the quays. Hogan's mill was stormed and its windows were smashed and flour and bread was carried away. Rowboats joined in to strip cargo vessels clean within a half an hour. It's like piranhas if somebody fell into the water. That's what the rowboats were doing.
Maybe it's because we just watched The Italian Job recently, but I'm imagining them driving away in Mini Coopers.
There was military in the city as well at the time, and soldiers tried to contain the unrest, and the rioters fanned out across the city, striking at provision stores, and John Norris Russell's premise on Henry Street came under direct attack. But unlike many of the other merchants, Russell's store was successfully defended.
So was military was protecting for him?
Well, it was both his own employees and the military presence that helped to protect it. And the people also just ran on.
Yeah.
You know, the riot raged for much of the day and bakeries were stripped, salt and bacon stores were raided, firkins of butter rolled through the streets. Women were noted as leading many of the charges, though soldiers and dragoons were deployed.
Dragons?
No, not dragons.
Dragons?
The military under General Sir Edward Blakeney showed restraint and were hesitant to fire upon the starving poor. Only a handful of people were wounded by gunfire.
Oh, wow.
It was the women of the city who were really at the fore in this riot.
Yay, feminism.
Woohoo! One report in the Limerick Chronicle noted that the figure and aspect of the women emerging from the stores were of the most ludicrous character. So bedaubbled were they with flour, head, face, clothes. So ridiculous was the plight in which they ran through the cities, and so disordered their dress as to resemble, in truth, rather a horde of wild Indians than a number of civilized beings.
It's like they're describing the Purge movies.
Very similar. But also there were other reports of the women who were carrying off the flour in their aprons and looked like ghosts because the white powder had covered them and the flour was flying behind them as they ran down the street. You know, a whole spectacle of the thing was happening.
So what happened then? What was the aftermath like?
Well, the aftermath was swift. An emergency relief committee raised over £1,000 to sell oatmeal and potatoes at a reduced price.
Oh, that's nice.
It temporarily eased the hunger.
Yeah.
But blame and reputation became political weapons. In the House of Lords, Edmund Perry, the Earl of Limerick, nephew of the man who created the new town Perry, dismissed the riot as a mere frolic and mischief.
Downplaying it a little bit, so.
He denied that there was any hunger involved. Merchants, including Russell, stressed the defence of their property against mob violence. Again, downplaying the desperation that had driven the crowds to their doors. Ultimately, dozens were arrested and 14 were transported to Australia. But the core issues of poverty, high food prices, and social inequality remained.
When in doubt, ship them to Australia.
It's what you've got to do. The riots really exposed a city split in two. There was the Newtown Perry merchants and professionals on one side, and the destitute of Old Town on the other. So while we think of the Russell family as high achievers today, in the 1830s, they were not as appreciated by the masses. We still have this going on today, the divide between the haves and haves not. It's very clear. Now, this is a podcast about John Norris Russell. But if you want to find out more about the food riots, Liam Hogan did an excellent article with an interactive map.
Ooh, an interactive map.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And it's on the Irish Story website and absolutely worth checking out.
That sounds very interesting. I think I will.
Back to the Russells. What do you do if you have loads of money?
What I do? I'd buy more keys and name them after myself.
Well, no, that's not what the Russells did. John Norris and his children decided to build or acquire a number of very important houses. These included a classy house, which is now part of the University of Limerick, Milford House, which is now owned by the Little Company of Mary, used as the nursing home and hospice that we all know in Milford House, Shelburne House, which is part of the Art School Reese School, and Thornhill House. Both of those are on the North Circle Road. Crescent House, which was later the Jesuit church and residence, Ballinacarrick House near Rathkeel, and Faha House near Patrick's Well.
How many houses do you need?
Well, a lot apparently. Where are you going to hold your balls? But the thing is, as we all know, you can't take any of it with you. And on the 30th of April, 1859, John Norris Russell died at his home, 109 Georgia Street, which is now Hunter's Sports Bar.
Oh, it's a great spot. Nice pub.
Again, the Limerick Chronicle reported on his death. This morning, to the deep regret of his family, at his house, Georgia Street, in his 85th year, John Norris Russell Esquire, principal of the extensive J. N. Russell and Son. During a long and active life, he fulfilled all the duties of a true Christian. He was a gentleman of the highest honour and integrity, beloved by his family and respected by a large circle of friends. His energy and enterprise largely increased the trade of his native city, and by the extensive employment he gave, happiness and comfort were spread among thousands.
So, yeah, the food riot people definitely didn't write that, did they?
Oh, that's for sure. The story of the Russells really continued with his children. His eldest son, Francis William Russell, was a member of Parliament for Limerick City from 1852 till 1871, while his second eldest son, Thompson Russell, was the Sheriff of Limerick, and his second youngest son, Richard Russell, we'll talk about him in a minute. His youngest son, Arthur Russell, was the last of the brothers to manage the family's milling business.
So they upheld John's legacy for a while?
Absolutely. John's 4 sons continued the family business as well as their own projects until 1871, when 2 of the brothers passed away within a day of each other.
Oh, wow.
This left the 2 surviving brothers to carry on without them for a few more years.
Which 2 brothers died?
Yeah, on August 30th, 1871, the eldest son, Francis William Russell, who was educated in Trinity, died suddenly in London. He had entered the world of politics and spent most of his adult life in London, leaving his brothers in charge of his share of the family business.
Mm-hmm.
The previous day, his younger brother, Richard Russell, died at his home in Plassey House in Limerick.
What about Richard?
Richard was the most active partner among the brothers and headed the business from 1859 when the father died. He was described as a generous and considerate master to his employees, and he continued to expand the Russells' business, including the takeover of the Plassey Mills from Reuben Harvey.
So Reuben Harvey was their competition at the time? Does he have a good story too?
Oh, he sure does. There's even a Harvey's key, so we might do a whole podcast about the Harvey family.
Nice. We'll get back to you, Reuben, don't worry.
Russell was one of the leading public figures in Limerick. At the time of his death, it was stated that under a somewhat earnest and excitable temperament, Mr. Russell had a good, kind heart.
So he was a bit eccentric, is what you're saying?
Probably a little bit. Richard continued the family tradition and served as a sheriff for 2 years, beginning in 1847.
What a weird tradition.
Yeah, the sheriff was the Crown's representative in the city. So, like the Sheriff of Nottingham, but in Limerick.
Ah, I see.
Richard sat on both Limerick Council and Limerick Board of Guardians. He was also one of the city's most notable philanthropists. After his death, when People's Park was finally opened to the public as the first public park in the city in 1877, it was done so in his memory.
That was Limerick's first public park.
Yeah, before that you needed a key to access it, and you needed to be rich
to
have a key. There was even a park keeper's house just inside the main gate to keep the riffraff out and to keep the flower beds pretty. So if you're ever down near the entrance, you'll see the plaque that reads Perry Square. This public park was formed by subscription in memory of Richard Russell, the land being given by the Right Honourable the Earl of Limerick. Richard Russell, he got married to Mary Dickinson and they had 7 children, 3 sons and 4 daughters. But sadly, only 3 survived to adulthood.
7 kids is a bit more average for this podcast. And 3 surviving, that's about average too, really.
And sad.
And sad. There's a lot of infant deaths in these podcasts. Bit of a bummer.
Today, there are a few reminders of the Russell family left in the city. These include the memorials that I mentioned in People's Park and an arch bearing John Norris Russell's name on the canal bank. So if you're walking along the canal, you'll see this random arch in the middle of nowhere with John Norris Russell's name over it. That used to be the entrance to the mill that was there.
Ah.
And the ruins of Plassey Mill, if you go even further out the canal towards the Black Bridge, you'll see it on the right-hand side, the ruins of that. And most notably, the Cleves building.
Yeah. So where can we go and visit these people?
Now, normally I'd just give you a little snippet of where the people are buried. But with the Russells, I have to tell you a little bit of a story.
Bonus story.
The existing St. John's Church of Ireland Church in John Square was built in 1851. And as I mentioned, John Norris Russell was very involved with that. There had been a church on the site since about the 12th century. The graveyard surrounding the church includes a large limestone mausoleum. The mausoleum is located to the north of the church grounds, flush with the boundary railing enclosing the site, so you can see it from the outside. It possesses a square-headed door opening with a limestone architrave. It has a panelled cast iron door with vent holes on the top of the panels and a cast iron relief goat figure and a rubber band with raised lettering reading Que sera sera.
That's very fancy.
Another plaque on the side of this mausoleum reads, Here lies the mortal remains of Francis Russell, who died the 25th day of August, 1800. He was an affectionate husband, a kind and indulgent parent, a true friend and honest man. Another plaque reads, John Norris Russell dedicated this monument to his father, Francis Russell, a tender husband, an affectionate parent, a kind friend, and an honest man. They said honest man twice, so I think we really need to trust.
He was definitely honest, for sure.
He was an honest man.
They wouldn't say it twice if it wasn't true.
It was in this tomb that John Norris Russell, his father, his sons, and other members of his family were laid to rest. But unusually, John Norris Russell is said to have visited the tomb and used his large key to open that iron door and sat by candlelight as a place of solitude to write while he was in the city, while he was alive.
Very spooky place for paperwork, but I honestly probably would do the same thing if I owned a mausoleum in the city.
Well, we know he did it when he was alive. He still might be doing it now. I'm not sure how spirits work. So do you have any more questions about John Norris Russell?
No, but I'm going to go throw some flour about this city, though.
With that, it's a bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Find out more about this and other Limerick stories at limerickslife.com and check us out on our social media. You can find Limerick's Life on buymeacoffee.com. Mine's a decaf.
And mine's a latte.